Dillian Whyte has been in big fights before. He has been in good fights before. But this felt different. At long last, this felt like the night his top-level career really begun. "I've been swimming against the wave my whole career," he said in the build-up. Finally the tide seems to have turned. Let's not kid ourselves. Lucas Browne came into this fight unbeaten in 25 professional contests. But for all the Australian's toughness and bravery, he showed himself to be very limited. For 5.5 rounds he was pummeled and pounded into a bloody mess, and if this felt like the true beginning of Whyte's life at the top table, it could well spell the end for a man who once held the WBA regular world title, for a few days at least. The quality and skills was obvious from the first bell, as Whyte regularly punished Browne, the challenger who made ever more crude attempts to set up his hammer right hand. By the second round, the hometown fighter had opened up a nasty cut above his opponent's left eye. By round 3 a number of big right hands had rendered the Australian's face crimson. Shortly after the start of the 6, it was lights out. The celebrations inside the O2 may have been tempered by the legitimate concerns for the loser's safety. But make no mistake, this was the win, and the performance, Whyte has waited for since the last time he headlined at this arena. That defeat in December 2015 will never be erased from his record. But it may no longer be his defining night. He is a fighter who has risen from abject poverty in Jamaica to forge a life for himself and his family on these shores. Shot and stabbed on the way, Whyte has a story to rival many of boxing's many rags to riches tales. Browne, meanwhile, is a former bouncer from Sydney who came to boxing via MMA and claims to have had his world title dreams ripped from him by a Chechnyan conspiracy. Oh, and he failed 2 drugs tests within a year in 2016. This fight should have sold itself, but it is perhaps fitting that its significance was instead being measured by its supporting role in the wider heavyweight battle for supremacy. It's no coincidence either that it was scheduled a week before Joshua takes on Joseph Parker. Since his scrap with AJ, Whyte has begrudgingly played the role of understudy. He has been known, unfairly but perhaps inevitably, as a fighter best known for the one bout he lost. Since that night, AJ has gone on to sell out Wembley and the Principality Stadium, twice. Next weekend, the WBA and IBF champion takes on the best fighter from down under in front of 80,000 fans. On Saturday, his one-time rival drew 8,000 fans for a clash with the man hoping to steal Parker's crown. AJ has talked up the possibility of a rematch between the British pair. Whyte was only too happy to return the favor at the O2, but the uncomfortable truth is that their careers had been moving at different trajectories, if not in opposing directions. The Brixton heavyweight has now won 7 fights since the defeat in 2015. But until Saturday night none had fully allowed him to step out of the shadow cast over his career that night. It's not been for want of trying. Since Whyte became the #1 contender to Deontay Wilder's WBC title, Eddie Hearn has made 7-figure offers to the Alabama bonger, but the American has so far been happier to offer convicted drug cheat Luis Ortiz 2 bites at the cherry than take any British bait. Whyte believes this is because he presents too big a risk to the champion's hopes of cashing in against Joshua. Others suggested he simply offered the American too little reward. After his left hook laid out Browne in chilling fashion, maybe he was right all along.